Alright, and number 2, I'm going to start again by plotting the points of my triangle. So I have F is at 0, -6. And G is at 3, 6. 1, 2, 3. And H is at 12, 0. And I'm going to cheat a little bit and add in some lines because my graph paper is not quite big enough. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and connect the dots. Okay, so I'm connecting FH, GH, and FG. And my picture is kind of sloppy, so I'm going to use the midpoint formula to figure out where those midpoints are. Okay, and I just need 2 of them. So on GH, I'm going, let's see, 3 plus 12 is 15, divided by 2, I'm at 7.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right about there. So that was 7.5. And then my y value for that would be 6 plus 0 divided by 2. That should be at about 3. So clearly my picture is a little bit off. That's okay, as long as my numbers are right. Then I'm looking at FH. I'm going from 0 to 12 divided by 2. I'm at 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere like there. And then -6 to 0. -6 divided by 2 is -3. So we said this was 6, -3. I want to find the slope of both of those blue lines because I'm trying to draw in perpendicular bisectors. I already have the bisector part taken care of because I found the midpoint. To make sure that the line I draw is perpendicular, I have to find the slope of GH and then take the negative reciprocal. So on GH, I am going down 6 and over 9. So my slope right there is -6/9, which is the same as -2/3. If I take the negative reciprocal of that, I get 3/2. I'm doing the same thing with my other line. I have FH here. From F to H, I'm going up 6, and I'm going over 12, so that's the same as 1/2. If I take the negative reciprocal of that, my slope is -2. I'm going to use the slope that I have and the point that I found, and I'm going to put it into point slope form. So I have y minus y1, which here is -3, so it'll be +3, equals my slope, -2, times x minus x16. Do the same thing for that other line. So I have y minus y1, which is 3, equals my slope, 3/2, times x minus x1, which is 7.5. I'm going to take a minute here and I'm going to make sure that my equations start with y equals. Okay, so I'm going to move that 3 over and I get y equals 3/2 times x minus 7.5 plus 3. And my other equation will end up being subtracting 3 from both sides. So I get y equals negative 2 times x minus 6 minus 3. If I take both of those equations and I scooch over here, I'm going to do some algebra now. So I'm looking at the two forms of the equations that start with y equals. So I have y equals 3/2 times x minus 7.5 plus 3, and I have y equals negative 2 times x minus 6 minus 3, and I'm going to clean those up a little bit in just a second. But first I'm going to set everything past the equal sign in both equations equal to each other, because they both equal y, and this will make it a lot easier to find x. So I have 3/2 times x minus 7.5 plus 3 equals negative 2 times x minus 6 minus 3. I'm going to distribute and kind of clean things up a little bit here. So 3/2 is the same as 1.5, so I have 1.5x minus 7.5 times 3.5, so 1.5 times 7.5, I'm at 11.25, plus 3 equals negative 2x plus 12 minus 3. I'm going to clean this up and clean this up, so I have 1.5x minus 11.25 plus 3, rather negative 11.25 plus 3 should be at negative 8.25 equals negative 2x plus 9. I'm going to add 2x here, and I'm going to add 8.25 in the same step. And I end up with 3.5x equals 17.25. And if I plug 17.25 divided by 3.5 into my calculator, I get that x equals 4, and then some big long decimals like 0.92857, and it keeps going on. I'm going to switch that into a fraction, and if you don't know how to do that on your calculator, have me show you sometime, because it'll make your life super easy. Turns out that big long decimal is 13/14. Okay. I know that I'm looking for an ordered pair, so I know for sure my x value in that ordered pair will be 4 and 13/14. If I take that in and I go back to one of these two equations and plug that in for x, I can solve for y really easily. So I'm going to store that answer in my calculator. Again, if you don't know how to do that, have me show you sometime. And I'm kind of partial to the second one where it's negative 2 times x minus 6 minus 3. So I'm going to subtract 6 times negative 2 and then subtract 3. And I get another gross looking decimal. And I'm going to switch it to a fraction, and it's negative 6/7. Okay, if you're getting the decimal on your calculator and don't know how to switch it yet, negative 6/7 is about negative 0.857, and it keeps going on. Okay. Once I have that point, all that's telling me is that when I go over here and I draw these perpendicular bisectors in, right, so it's going something like that in both directions, and this one's going something like that. The point where those two lines meet, so our circumcenter, will be at 4 and 13/14, negative 6/7 as an ordered pair.